From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
This morning, hospitals in Indiana are starting to see a spike in coronavirus patients.
We've seen a significant escalation week by week, day by day over the past month or so. So that is very, very concerning.
Now at 4:30, what health leaders think is behind the rise and how they're preparing for the weeks ahead. Plus, a sign greeting voters in Delaware County says masks aren't needed to vote. Working for you, we're looking at why polling places can't enforce the statewide mandate. Thanks for joining us here on this Friday morning for Good Morning Indiana. I'm Nicole Griffin. Lauren Casey has the morning off. Meteorologist Todd Glassen is standing by. Todd, stepping out the door when that wind hit you. It's so cold this morning.
Yeah, it's definitely chilly out there all across the area, Nicole. Temperatures are in the 30s in many locations. You mentioned the wind. That kind of kicked in as the day went on yesterday, and it's that chilly north wind. Now, the good news in this forecast is that we've gotten rid of all the rainfall out there. You can see the city skyline as you look from IMS back east towards downtown Indianapolis. But here are those chilly temperatures. 39 in Peru, 37 in Lafayette, 41 is the current temperature in Bloomington. Indianapolis sitting right at 40 degrees, but those temperatures will likely go down a few degrees here throughout the course of the morning hours and Good Morning Indiana. Temperatures are above freezing. That's the good news. There's not a lot of moisture out there, but especially off to the east where the clouds are a little thicker. Don't be shocked if maybe you see a little mist out there, but that is just about it. But the overall trend here throughout the day will be for the clouds to decrease as our storm system from yesterday finally pulls off the east coast. And as far as these snow showers near Minneapolis, you don't have to worry about those whatsoever. So your day planner takes us from mostly cloudy skies this morning to partly cloudy. We're in the 30s here through 10 a.m., so you need to bundle up. And eventually highs today remain well below normal, only getting up into the 40s. We'll talk more about the rest of today and look ahead to your weekend coming up in just a few minutes.
Todd, thank you. Let's take a live look outside at traffic this morning. This is I-74 at Pleasant View Road, and just south of this location near London Road, a crash has all the eastbound lanes of I-74 shut down. If you are headed east towards Cincinnati this morning, US 52 Brookville Road to South State Road 9, and then back on the highway might be your better option. New overnight, a man has died following a shooting on the city's northeast side. The shooting happened around 2 this morning near 33rd and Ashland Drive. That's near 34th and Shadeland. Police say the man, who is between 16 and 21 years old, ran into a neighboring yard after being shot. He died by the time medics arrived on scene. If you have any information about what happened here, call Crime Stoppers. In just a few hours, we will learn whether Lucas Oil Stadium can be used as an early voting site this weekend. The Marion County Election Board will hold a public meeting at 10 this morning on a proposal to add the home of the Colts as an early voting location. The board is made up of 1 Democrat and 1 Republican and the county clerk. Indiana law requires a unanimous vote to approve the addition of an early voting location outside of the clerk's office. As of now, there are only 5 satellite sites in Marion County. Voters have waited in line for hours at each of those locations. This morning, a Muncie man says he was shocked to see a sign telling voters they didn't have to wear a mask at the polls despite a statewide mask mandate. Dennis Everett took the picture at the Delaware County Government Center and shared it online. He says he just wants to know if it's allowed under the Indiana mask mandate. We reached out to the Secretary of State's office to get some clarification. In an email response, a spokesperson says in part a voter cannot be required to wear protective devices or apparel as a precondition to appearing in person at the polls. To require them to do so would violate their constitutional right, and that doesn't sit well with Dennis.
Even if there was a mandate and an individual just cannot wear a mask for some legitimate medical reason, they can always mail in their vote or mail it absentee. So I don't buy the idea that this is a mandate would keep people from voting.
The CDC released recommendations for voters to stay safe while voting in person. They are similar to the guidelines for grocery shopping. Wear a mask and stay 6 feet away from others. They remind you to bring your own mask and hand sanitizer as well. Early voting numbers are still surging in Indiana. Despite rain on Thursday, people stood outside the city-county building in downtown Indianapolis waiting to exercise their right to vote. As of this morning, more than 1,382,000 people in Indiana have voted early so far. The total number of votes cast is more than 49% of the final presidential vote in Indiana in 2016. Early voting runs through Monday. Election Day is this coming Tuesday, November 3rd. A reminder, if you are voting by mail, your completed ballot must be to your county's election office by noon on Election Day, November 3rd. That is just 4 days away. At this point, you probably don't want to mail in your ballot because if you haven't sent it, there just isn't enough time. Instead, you can take your ballot to the county election office in person and drop it off to make certain it's in on time. A federal judge has removed IMPD from a wrongful death lawsuit related to the police shooting of Dre'Jon Reed. The judge ruled the department is not a suable entity in this context. Metro police officers shot Dre'Jon Reed following a chase on May 6th on the north side. Officers say after Reed pulled over behind a business he tried to run. They say the responding officer, identified as DeJour Mercer, deployed a taser, striking Reed. IMPD reports Reed fired a gun and Mercer returned fire, striking Reed multiple times. Family members have argued evidence suggests that Reed did not point a weapon at officers, although their evidence has not been shared. The claims remaining on the lawsuit include a claim for excessive force against Officer Mercer individually and against the city, a claim against the city for failure to train, a wrongful death claim against the city, IMPD Chief Randall Taylor and Deputy Chief Kendall Adams, a battery claim against Officer Mercer and the city, and a claim for denial of medical care against Officer Mercer. Now to the very latest on the coronavirus pandemic and its impact on our state. On Thursday, the State Department of Health reported more than 3,600 new coronavirus cases. For perspective, Wednesday, the state had more than 2,500 new cases, which is also considered extremely high. Nearly 173,000 Hoosiers have been diagnosed with COVID-19. The state also reports 33 more Hoosiers have died with coronavirus. Since the pandemic began, more than 4,000 Hoosiers have died with the virus. We want to now take a closer look at how the virus is impacting Shelby County. The county southeast of Indianapolis is the only donut county listed in the orange category. 957 Shelby County residents have tested positive for the virus. 36 residents have died with the virus, including one new death reported on Thursday. This morning, hospitals in our area are starting to see a spike in COVID-19 patients. Leaders with Community Health Network and IU Health believe the steady increase is due in part to pandemic fatigue and people not taking the same precautions they may have been taking several months ago. Health leaders say they're tracing a lot of these new cases back to family gatherings. They say they're ready and able to take in more patients, but people need to do their part to prevent the spread as well.
What I'm terrified about is the 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, because everybody desperately wants to be with each other. And you're going to have people either traveling into the state or out of the state. And you're going to be in contact with people that may not have quarantined. So I'm nervous throughout the country, but even our own hospitals, that from about 2 weeks after Thanksgiving.
Well, if you do gather with your family, try to stay outside and wear a mask at all times. Art growing out of a nationwide movement is now center stage for all to see here in Indianapolis. Still ahead, we're talking with one of the artists taking part in the Black Lives Matter exhibition. Plus, the Hoosiers are coming off a big weekend win. Coming up, how the Cream and Crimson plan to use their momentum to keep building. Todd.
And after a very, very wet day yesterday, finally an opportunity to dry out just in time for the weekend, including Halloween. You can see the storm system moving through New York, but to our west, lots of clear skies. That's what's working in our direction. We'll talk all about it and break it down for you coming up when Good Morning Indiana continues right here on WRTV.
Local artists who created the Black Lives Matter mural on Indiana Avenue are working to continue the conversation surrounding racial and social justice. Their work is now being featured in a new exhibition called 18 Black Lives Matter. All 18 artists have their artwork in the show at the Indianapolis Art Center. We talked to one of the artists about what she hopes people feel as they walk through the exhibition.
Whatever background you have or whatever stance you have, whether it's politically or race or anything, I think artwork just has a way of bringing out empathy And that's what we really need in this world, is more empathy. And I think when people come to this exhibit, they are really going to be, I think, really moved by our work and our message.
The exhibition is open now through early 2021. The Indianapolis Art Center, which is located on East 67th Street in Broad Ripple, is open 7 days a week and is free for the public. We are just 4 days away from the general election, and the race for president remains at full steam ahead. A record 80 million Americans have already casted their ballots ahead of Tuesday's election. This morning, ABC's Elizabeth Schulze reports on how the candidates for president are focusing on getting remaining voters to the polls.
A day after they held dueling rallies in Florida.
Here in our home state, Florida.
Hello, Tampa.
The candidates are now both targeting the Midwest. In the final 4 days of the race, President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden's campaign events are as different as their messages. Biden keeping focus on the pandemic, holding socially distanced drive-in rallies, and attacking the president's handling of the virus.
Donald Trump just had a super spreader event here again. They're spending more than just coronavirus. He's spreading division and discord.
Trump barely mentioning the pandemic during his packed rallies, despite the U.S. hitting a record more than 80,000 cases per day and deaths increasing in at least 29 states. An American testing positive every 1.2 seconds and dying from the virus every 107 seconds.
We've done an incredible job. Incredible job.
The president instead boasting about the economy after a new report showed GDP increased by a record 33.1% in the third quarter.
They say, talk about your economic success. Talk about 33.1%, the greatest in history. Now, look, if I do, how many times can I say it?
The surge in GDP follows a record drop the quarter before from the COVID-19 shutdown. Biden echoing many economists who warn the U.S. economy still has a long road to recovery.
And millions of people are out of work, on the edge. They can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Donald Trump has given up.
Already more than 81 million Americans have voted, according to the United States Elections Project. That's nearly double the early vote count from 2016 and almost 60% of the total vote 4 years ago. Early voting in Harris County, Texas, which includes the city of Houston, has already surpassed the entire voter turnout in the 2016 election. Elizabeth Schulze, ABC News, Washington.
Elizabeth, thank you. After pulling the plug on one of Eli Lilly's antibody studies, the government has struck a deal with the Indianapolis company for promising results of another. The antibody treatment didn't seem to work for people already hospitalized with COVID-19, but the treatment may be able to prevent hospitalizations. The federal government plans to distribute 300,000 doses to Americans at no cost. However, the deal is pending the FDA's approval of emergency use authorization. The agency is considering the same status for a similar drug made by Regeneron, which President Trump received as part of his COVID treatment. Let's get another check of your forecast now with Todd. Todd, you need to grab that jacket as you're heading out.
That's the main thing you need here throughout the day today, Nicole, as you get going. Yesterday, you needed the umbrella, you needed the raincoat. You can kind of set that aside for a while. I know you used the umbrella quite a bit this week, but we're entering a pretty dry stretch of weather. So we'll have plenty of sunshine, but temperatures, as I'll show you, boy, they are going to be up and down. 40 degrees right now, but here is the issue. The wind out of the north right now, 21 miles per hour. That makes it feel 10 degrees colder. It only feels like it's 30 degrees outside right now, so you definitely need to have the heavier coat. Some of you may want to have the hat and gloves as well, especially if you're getting in line early here this morning to maybe do some early voting. Temperatures range from 37 in Lafayette to 40 in Greenfield. 41 is the current temperature in Bloomington, and the warmer air is definitely well off to our east. You look back to the west, and a lot of temperatures here in the 30s, and this is what we're going to be dealing with for the next couple hours as we stay in the 30s, and then eventually, even as we work some sunshine into the forecast today, highs are only going to be climbing up into the mid-40s. Our normal highs should still be getting up to right around 60, 61 degrees, so we're well below normal. Morning clouds, once the sun comes up, we should burn the cloud cover off pretty quickly throughout the day today, and skies will be partly cloudy heading into the afternoon hours. You already see some of these clouds breaking apart off to the west. There's the storm system from yesterday. Boy, it was a massive one, impacting not only us here in central Indiana, but places to the south, and then flooding on the East Coast as well. But as for our forecast, again, decreasing clouds with that north wind. Can't completely rule out a lake effect rain shower in far northern locations, but it shouldn't really impact most of central Indiana. Kokomo, Tipton, up towards Peru, maybe into the Logansport area. Don't be shocked if you see a spot shower later on this afternoon with the winds coming off the lake, but most of us will enjoy partly cloudy skies. It's Friday night. If you have plans the night before Halloween here, maybe carving some pumpkins outside with the family, you'll have to bundle up as temperatures will be falling back down into the 30s. And tomorrow, as you start your Saturday, most of us are at or below freezing. It's a really cold start for our Saturday, but during the day, it turns pretty pleasant with mostly sunny skies tomorrow. The winds won't be as bad, but still a little breezy. As they'll kick up in the afternoon hours, temperatures will be in the 50s. Now, fast forward to Sunday. First, let me talk about the Halloween moon. I forgot to put this graphic in for you. A full moon on Halloween. Last time that's happened was 1955. The next time it's going to happen, 2039. So it's pretty rare. It's also a blue moon, the second full moon of the month. Here are those Sunday temperatures. If you pull up your phone and you look at the weather app, it's going to say it's going to be in the upper 40s. Doesn't sound too bad, right, for Sunday? That is right at midnight. Sunday, the cold front is going to come through. The winds are going to kick up. By the time we get to 7 a.m., we are down to 40 degrees. Much of the afternoon hours on Sunday are going to be in the 30s, but with 30-mile-per-hour winds, so it's going to feel more like it's in the 20s on Sunday afternoons. So that 42, I know it's deceiving. I kind of split the difference as far as temperatures from our high into the afternoon hours. Election day, the Nicole, looks good. Partly cloudy skies and a high of 58.
All right, Todd, thank you. Here's a live look outside right now from our INDOT traffic camera at I-465 and 86th Street on the northwest side. If you're traveling up into Boone County this morning, there are no crashes or delays to slow you down. The IU football team is enjoying the national spotlight after a huge win against Penn State. This morning, WRTV's Brad Brown shows how the Hoosiers are hoping to build momentum as they head into week 2.
It is the kind of moment that could come to define the season for the IU football team.
The field stands, touchdown.
Since the first day I stepped foot on this campus, I believed Indiana could do what we just did on that field. I believed it. And I hate quit talking about it. I've been made fun of. I've been mocked. I never cared.
But it's also only one game. The Hoosiers realize already that they have a ton of work ahead of them.
You got to learn to manage all this. The different things going on. As we talk about, the earmuffs and blinders aren't just for the negative noise. Okay, it's also for the positive things that you have to learn to manage, and then sometimes you have to learn to ignore those as well. So to be able to realize that it's everything is created, by a certain method and process you go through to put yourself in that position.
Indiana's win over Penn State put the Hoosiers 17th in this week's AP Top 25, highest ranking for the program in nearly 27 years. A byproduct of a win over a team that many thought could contend for the Big Ten title. But could IU be one of those teams now?
I try to stress my teammates a lot that, we stay on the same page, we stay locked in. We outside of football, we're taking care of each other at the end of the day, making sure we're not making any bad decisions.
Let's not forget, though, the Hoosiers' perilous way of winning that game. They lost a 10-point lead. Defense gave up a couple bad fourth-quarter touchdowns. A mistake with a late squib kick was saved by a missed field goal. But they found a way to win. And this condensed season, a 1-0 start, is a very big deal.
We struggled at the beginning of the game. We didn't play our best football. We all came on the sideline. We just talked together. Just 1-0, just come out and just do what we love. Do it at the best of our ability. I'm sorry, but that's all we did. Just kept that 1-0 mindset so we could come out and finish the game strong.
We have a great one word this week: focus, and I think that's just what we've got to bring to the table every day. Is just extreme focus and practice at a high level each day.
And what about that final call? Tom Allen went for the win in overtime.
To be able to experience that, you can talk about all you want. When you experience that type of situation and you find a way to finish the game and go win the game, that's a powerful thing. And so I just know that's, it's great for our kids.
IU goes to Rutgers this weekend. After that, it is quite the trifecta. Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State on 3 straight weeks. The Hoosiers will certainly know by Thanksgiving if they are, in fact, the real deal. Brad Brown, WRTV Sports.
Morning, a former Army sergeant is pushing through for cancer fighters and is encouraging you to do the same. Last year, Nathan Tyree found out he is one of at least 176,000 Americans diagnosed with blood cancer each year. Determined to fight his diagnosis, Nathan decided to do one push-up for every American battling the disease. 1 year after his diagnosis, Nathan completed his goal, 176,000 push-ups. Nathan says we can all push through hard times if we just push through and put one foot in front of the other. Todd, I can barely do 20 push-ups. Wow. Good for him.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. Way to go. All right, outside right now we are dealing with chilly temperatures and breezy conditions. You definitely need the coat as you walk out the door. The clouds will decrease throughout the day today. 48 degrees, your high temperature. So even with the sunshine, a little chilly. Tomorrow we start at or below freezing. We warm it to 55 in the afternoon. Sunday's a very windy day as temperatures fall from 42 into the 30s in the afternoon. So be aware of that. Monday we start in the 20s. A hard freeze is likely, but then a nice little warm-up heads our way from Election Day into the middle of next week as temperatures climb back into the 50s and 60s. We'll break all this down for you. Have the latest news, headlines, and traffic coming up when Raphael joins Nicole and I right here on Good Morning Indiana.